And I'm gonna admit something on TV that you probably shouldn't. I'm rooting for Shedeur Sanders. I wanted to turn the film on and be able to come on First Take, be on Get Up, and be on NFL Live and pound the table that he has been done wrong. Pound the table that he deserves to be the week one starter. He deserves to be the 2 on the depth chart. But if you watch the film, if you compare it to what we did see from Dillon Gabriel, that's just not the case. And I'm with everyone. I'm with Kurt Warner. I do wish I would have gotten to see Shedeur Sanders in the 2-minute drill, not because I needed to see him execute so he could play well, but I wanted to see him rebound from an outing that didn't go the way that he would have liked it to go. I know that he's ultimately confident. I know that he has a high level of talent. I believe he should have been drafted earlier, but the reality is he's a 5th-round pick that was treated like a 5th-round pick. He was a 5th-round pick that got the opportunities that 5th-round picks normally get unless they force you to give them something else. And so when you look at the peers in his room, when you look at the position that the Cleveland Browns drafted him in and the reps that they allowed him to get, Shedeur Sanders is going to be exactly where he should be, which is behind Joe Flacco, behind Dillon Gabriel, in on the depth chart. And being that as it is, I don't believe he gets an opportunity to play this year.
What's going on there, guys? We're back with another one. Got to talk a little Shedeur Sanders on today, but first, let's take care of a few housekeeping things on today. Now, Kevin Stefanski went to see Arch Manning on today. There's a big debate online. I seen Dan Orlovsky say that he was a generational quarterback, but he said Sark had, basically the kid gloves on and wouldn't let him go. But I think Arch missed some throws today. Arch is going to have to shake a stigma now that may be unfairly placed on him about not playing against competition, because I'm not a fan of a quarterback like him going to sit 2 years at a school like Texas. I mean, you could sit one, but by that second year, I feel like you should be in the fold. But I know they had Quinn Ewers and everything. I'm just not a fan of people sitting, for 2 years like that when they are highly touted. He missed some easy throws. But yeah, Kevin Stefanski was in the building. It was a big blow up about that, him looking for his next quarterback, as if Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur don't have a real opportunity if Arch was to come out. But, he didn't look so good today. So he's got his own things to worry about. Ryan Clark is clapping back at everybody who was calling him an Uncle Tom and everything this week based off what he said, just after the last preseason game where Shedeur struggled, but he played with a bunch of individuals who are not currently on the roster right now. So let's get into what Ryan had to say, guys. Let's peep.
For all the people that called me a sellout throughout the week for my analysis on Shedeur Sanders, for the people that messaged me Uncle Tom or commented fool, I do want to say something to you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, and that's kiss my ass. I'm not going to holler sabotage and racism when I don't truly believe something is sabotage and racism. I did have a problem with the way Shedeur Sanders was covered in the pre-draft process. The anonymous reports demeaning a young man's character who had never done anything wrong away from the field, had never shown anything but leadership. I felt that part of that was the attack of a young, confident, brash young black man. I felt like part of it was we can't touch or affect Deion Sanders because he was so great, he was so talented, he is so charismatic. How do we now affect this young man? I do feel like he should have been drafted earlier, but the truth is that is where he was drafted, in the 5th round with the 144th pick. So here's what that means. Multiple teams, 32 teams, passed on him multiple times. And now you want me to say the one team that did decide to draft him doesn't have his best interests at heart. The thing is, he was a 5th round draft picks. 5th round draft picks get 5th round treatment, even if we don't feel like they deserve to be drafted in the 5th round. So you're going to play with some guys who don't make the team. You know who else you're going to play against? Some guys that don't make the team. As an undrafted guy, I understand I wasn't going to get the same reps as the fifth rounders or the sixth rounders, just as I understand Shedeur Sanders won't get the same reps as a Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders is an NFL quarterback. Shedeur Sanders has to play better. When I said I didn't think Shedeur Sanders would start a game for the Cleveland Browns unless somebody was hurt or that other players played bad, it showed when he was named third on the depth chart. I do believe that he still can have a bright future, but we have to wait a while to see that. But if we get in this world where I can't analyze film or I can't talk about football without it having to do with how I see, how I support, how I push forward my community, then that's an issue. And it's my fault. I started listening and opening the door for the applause and the praise. So it's very difficult to close the doors when you start to get the boos, the criticism, and the hate. I am still rooting for Shedeur Sanders. I don't just support the Sanders family, I love them. Deion Sanders is my big bro. I want to see his family do well. But what I said stands. He has to play better. I want to see him play better. I hope he gets that chance to play better. But our community has to do better. When somebody stands on all 10 the way I do consistently for us, you got to let me do my job. So when it's time for my voice to carry weight, it can.
Now, Ryan Clark is a brilliant brother. He's able to articulate himself and say what he means. I think, in this instance, it's one of those things, right, where you have to say exactly what they want you to say every single time on this topic, or you're a coon. It's been a lot of that in social media, right? There is a place to criticize Shador, even though uh, we love what he brings to the table, and we see the potential in him becoming a quarterback. I do think there should be room for the people that praise him to offer some criticism. Now, I think the trigger words for people was, he belongs behind Dillon Gabriel because nobody wants to hear that right now. But, for me personally, I think him being behind Dillon Gabriel puts all the pressure on Dillon Gabriel. I wouldn't say Flacco really has no pressure at this point in his career because he's not the QB going forward. But, you know, he can go into each practice, play really well, and the fans are going to be on Shedor's side. All Shedeur got to do is keep playing. Now, are they going to want to have a quarterback out there dealing with the pressure if we want Shedeur, if they start out 1-6? Are they going to want to see Dillon? Is it fair to Dillon to start getting boos if you don't go with Shedeur? So I think they're going to have all the pressure off of Shedeur. So I think the thing that the Browns are doing right now may even benefit Shedeur in the long run. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to have that pressure to be even QB2 with Dillon waiting behind him. See, then Dillon wouldn't have the pressure. He's a fifth round pick. He made the team. My only issue with that is it seems like if they think so low of him as a QB, they're just recognizing the business of it, and they're just using him as clicks, using him for viewership, just having him on the sideline. Watch how much that camera pan to Shedeur Sanders when he's not playing the first few weeks. And so, Shedeur, if you're listening to this, make sure you're always clapping. Don't have a dull moment, on the on the bench. And I ain't talking about not being focused or being focused. I'm talking about where you're pouting or something like that. They are looking for that. So don't give them that. That camera's gonna pan to you more than any fifth round QB pick in the history. So, just be mindful of that. Be cognizant of that. And so that would be, I wouldn't say a critique, but that would be like some advice I would give to him. Um, you know, remain the locker room guy that by all accounts everybody say you are. Keep staying out the practice because, when I feel like when he gets on the other side of this and he gets an opportunity, we'll see what Shador is made of. I mean, yeah, he holds the ball too long and all that sometimes, but the kid is a gamer. Like, if you would have gave him the weapons Arch Manning had and a Texas offensive line and that defense, that held Ohio State to 14 points at Ohio State. Shedeur would have won that game, I feel like. Um, but again, I feel like Arch Manning sitting 2 years. We only got Louisiana Monroe and a 2-win Mississippi State team from last year that he started against. It's his 2 good games. They put him out there against Georgia last year, and he looked out of place. And so that's why I said I'm not a fan of him sitting all those years. In scouting, a lot of times people tend to love what they don't see as much of, and it was like the Manning name, the whole mystique behind it. What he had done in a 2A conference in high school. That's all they had to go off of, and so now they dubbed him as the number 1 draft pick. And I ain't saying he can't get there. It's a lot of people went to Ohio State and then had a best game. So that's why I'm not ready to write him off. I just feel like, you put Shedeur in that situation, Shedeur would have balled out. Even if he might have had a pick or two early, he would have warmed up and really put some pressure on them as the game went on. But man, I'm a big Shedeur fan. I think Ryan Clark really is coming from a good place with Shedeur. Some of these people not in the media, but I do think he wants to see Shedeur do well. I just think a lot of times Ryan is on the black side of things, and a lot of people look to him for that, right? And when he's not, and I don't want to say not on the black side of things, but when he's has an opinion different from what the group would like you to think every single time in alignment with one another, then it's a problem. And I have a problem with that because everybody should be subject to their own thinking. We not seeing everything the same way all the time. So I'm not a big fan of that myself. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about this, though. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, peace.